Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me in my shop for what is probably the last day on this radio. And what is left to do? Got it all cleaned up. I got the cabinet all cleaned up. I've painted, or didn't really paint, but fixed up some of the tiny black trim that gets damaged on those radios, so the cabinet's pretty much ready. What's next here is getting the lighting of this panel correct. So the radio comes with two lights, and it would be a pretty simple thing to just screw in another light here and carry on, and somehow hang this back here. But shame on me. I have probably 100 miniature light bulbs in my stock, and not one of them is a screw-in type. These are actually clipped in here somehow. Let me pull this out and take a look at it here. It's got a... how is that really done? This is the good bulb. I'm going to wreck it. Okay, so instead of having a solid... oh, interesting. So it has these two sort of threaded pieces to grab the threads here. Then it has a spring, a clip, like a key ring, sort of cheap key ring clip. So that must be putting constant pressure in. I don't know, is that a better way of doing it? Did they save some metal? Why did they do that? So what are we going to do here? Check to make sure the other bulb is really burned out. Maybe it's just loose in its socket. You ever wonder how strings get broken on these radios? Here, let's pull this out. Sure looks burned out, doesn't it? The metal of the filament has been flashed onto the inside of the glass, I think. Some explosive moment there. Yeah, she's a dud. And what is it? Probably 6.3, but can't read it. Magnifier. What have I done with my magnifier? Might be better to read the voltage here anyway to be sure. Maybe I can see this one a little easier. 7 volts. 7-volt light. I think that's another way of saying 6.3. So what to do here? So the options are fiddle a bayonet light into here. I can probably do it one way or another. And another possibility is to replace the light bulbs with LED lights, maybe 3 or 4 of them in a string across here. And I need some way to do what this paper is doing, including using this paper. Where does this actually go? So the bottom support so there are lots of strings in here. So there's a couple of strings here, very taut, probably spring loaded, and they're holding the bottom of the pointer. And the it's one for the bottom of this pointer. Then the other pointer is actually driven from below and is kind of pointing up, hanging up. And it also has a running wire or running string to hold the pointer in the right position. Then behind that is the part of the pulley system for for the pointers. Where's the support? Where's the support one? So there's a string that broke and is off, and I think it's on the floor in the room next to me. I'm gonna go grab it. No, it's not on the floor in the room next to me. Where is it? Okay, I don't know where it is, but there is a string. I will find it eventually with a spring on it. And this thing must have been held top and bottom. Where's the bottom? There should be either a top or a bottom. There's only one broken string. This has to be fit in really carefully because there's strings everywhere here. I thought this would be a real simple thing. This is not a simple thing. Difficult to put this in. Don't have a spare light bulb I can screw right in. I think we're going to have to do something with LEDs here. I've done this with one other radio somewhat similar to this, and it came out pretty good. So maybe that's what I got to do, is make a bank of LEDs across here. And then I have to filter those somehow too. Why wouldn't you take like a plastic straw, make your bank of LEDs, shove them in the plastic straw, and have the straw be the thing? Because the LEDs get a little bit warm, depending upon how you operate them. I'll have to think about this a bit. Okay, so gave that straw idea a little more thought and thought, well, what if you split the straw and I've never opened this. So split the straw. These are little ones, I think. Split the straw, peel it open so it's a flat piece of plastic, and then glue the lights to the LED lights to the back of the plastic. So you have a strip with LED lights on it, and then you just have to mount the strip, which is a challenge too. And for that, I have this piece of material, which I could cut a strip, fix the lights on it. Once they're in place, pretty easy to run wires and stuff like that. I need a couple of diodes to protect them, and just a little bit of circuitry to protect these. These are small ones. These ones are just a bit higher current. Blue ones. I used blue ones on the last radio and actually had a nice look, but I don't think blue would be good with this. So just use the white ones. Just put a whole bunch on the back. Okay, I'm going to think about that a little more. The problem is supporting it. Right? If you have a thin strip, like this isn't exactly a thin strip, and you hang stuff on it and you try to hold it by the edges, it's going to tend to somehow has to be held really well, has to be held out really well. So what if I did what they did? Put some kind of wire through here somewhere, and then hang the whole thing on this wire. It's gonna swing on the wire. I have to think hard about, I can build the plastic thing with the lights on it easy, but how to get it in here, how to get it held, how to get it in the right place, and how to get it to stay there and not flop around. You gotta think some more. Actually, I don't spend time thinking. I go watch TV. That's what I do. Okay, just in thinking about it a little more, I'm thinking I will cut the strip, glue the lights, and then somehow attach the strip to these brackets that are here. They're intended to hold these lights, obviously. So they kind of mark kind of the center, vertically, and that they're kind of, if they're the right spot for these two lights, they're probably the right spot for the LEDs to go. That means I would be trying to glue a strip of this plastic in here somehow. Just looking at all the things that can be interfered with. So if I support this near the bottom, and I have a thin strip I've cut here. Come on, Mr. Focus. Thin strip I've cut here. I think the camera's having a hard time with this plastic. Can't decide what to focus on. Thin strip, supported at the bottom with a bit of weight on it. It needs some support at the top too. I don't know if this is stiff enough. Maybe this is stiff enough. Stiff enough to support the lights, or if I don't make it very wide. How wide does it have to be? You have the lights up tight to it. It doesn't have to be very wide. So maybe that's the deal. A thin strip placed right on the bottom here. Maybe epoxy to these guys. Can you epoxy onto this? And yeah, and that's about it. Unless I can somehow fit, a wire or string like they did. But now that I look at this, the crazy method they use in these radios of putting a couple of strings across, and sometimes they're spring tensioned strings, and then hanging a piece of paper from it. It's starting to make a lot of sense, actually. How else can I attach this in? Is this really... Should I double this? Maybe I should double this too, because you can see through this pretty clearly. Maybe I cut it and cut it, double it over. That'll make it a lot stiffer. That'll make it stiffer and stronger. And then how many lights? Well, that's always a question, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to let that idea sit in my head for a little while and see if something else shows up. Okay, thinking about this a little further down the road. Let me take out one of these. These guys don't cast light in all directions. They really have a strong light coming out the end of them. So almost like a laser beam coming out of there. So if I mount these the easy way, which would be by their side, they're actually going to be aimed up or down, and the bulk of the light is just going to be wasted inside the cabinet. That's one of the problems with these guys. Now if I were to glue them pointed like that, I think it would just come through like a beam, and it wouldn't be any diffusion going on. You'd have to have it back a bit. If I were to glue these on, just crazy ideas come in mind. Glue a bunch of these in place. Take some tin foil and attach the tin foil, some kind of reflective surface like tin foil, behind the lights. Of course it's metal, so it runs a chance of shorting everything out, but just to continue with my thought, put a metal backing. It's getting pretty complicated now. In order to try to reflect the light. Of course the light is aimed up or down, so the backing wouldn't reflect much. It's got to reflect from up here. Okay, gotta go think about it some more. So I've decided a little bit of experimenting is in order, because not only can these lights be aimed up and down, they can be aimed to any angle I like on the back of the plastic here. So So maybe if they even cast down the plastic, it's going to be better. So I could put a series of lights like that. But in any case, let's experiment a bit with this light. Tricky to do here with cameras because the cameras are self-adjusting. So what you're seeing is not quite what I'm seeing. Let's make this glow here. There we are. That's probably looks a little extra bright in the camera. Doesn't look that bright to my eye. Now, what happens? Got all kinds of light in here right now, but see, that's the problem right there. Look at how far back I have to go. Okay, so what happens if you lay it up? Oh boy, that's... What would that look like through the front? Now the front, of course, you can't see much through the front, just through these slots and various openings here. Let me just drop the camera down. Okay, continuing with some shop lights on. I'll just drop this in here. Not too good. Lots of light, like it's plenty bright. There's just no way I can have it pointing like that. So I should look with my eye, if they get right down here and look straight into the, don't look into the light because it's bright. Okay, let's try some sideways stuff here again. It's almost like I would have to block this and yet leave the light going. Get a blocker. Don't short it out now. Yeah, it's quite a beam, isn't it? So that, what this starts looking like, I need to mount these LEDs right at the back of the radio. Not up on the thing at all, but way back here. Now in that case, the direction of the light is actually helpful because there's not that much side cast. You don't want the whole cabinet, glowing with 100 watts of light in it, with two watts making it out the front, because it's going to come out everywhere else. It's going to come out of the speaker grill. It's going to come everywhere. So if I mount this back here, I'm close to mounting this right on the back of the radio at this point. Where my hand is, I'm way back here. And I'm at the back of the radio. So you could mount 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, got a shadow there. So you'd have to mount them high enough, but that's no good because they need to be down here. So they would have to be in front of these two IF cans. Otherwise, and then there's no shadow if you mount a bunch just in front of the IF cans. Okay, now what do we get out of that? Well, it's much better. It's much better. Another thing I can do is I can dull this by doing something right on the top of the light, so the beam isn't quite so blasting. It looks terrible. Let me stick it right here. Stick here. Stay there. Oh, that didn't work. I want to get a good look at this from a distance. Come on. Just sit there. Sit there. That's not bad. Okay, that's good for a check. Still very, very, very confined to just a little spot here. I mean, no doubt the original lights were having problems too. Hey, what happens if I put this paper filter in with it? Just kill a few lights in here. It'd almost be better if you use the lights to light the backing plate or this diffuser evenly, and then what you're looking at is the diffuser, not really the light behind the diffuser. And what if it's turned sideways now? We do this kind of thing. Could be up on the back aimed downwards, coming over the top of these interfering IF cans. And you know what that starts looking like? That looks like I'm mounting them in the cabinet now, on the top of the cabinet, aiming downwards. I can get the distance, I can get the rigidity and everything, and I can even make it so the wires, so there's a plug on the wires. If you want to take the, hey, look at that, that looks pretty good. Now if I had, 4 or 5 lights, the antenna's here. Yikes, look at that. But still, if we're coming up pretty high inside the cabinet, it have to be aimed very carefully. You could even put them in a bunch and then aim them. You could put like 5. How many lights would you need? You'd need, from this distance, you'd need 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lights. You don't even have to. Well, you could do either. You could do this, or you could do this. What if you did it on an angle? All the lights on an angle. Okay, am I sticking my head in front of the camera here? This is worth spending time on because, this is what people look at when they look at the radio. They look at this panel, and this is what is so dramatic on all these radios, as a front dial. And getting it lit right is what really brings it to life. Now there's another whole technique for lighting this, and they don't use it in this radio, but in a lot of these old radios they shoot the light through the pane of glass from its edge, and then the light catches all the paint here and comes to life. I don't think it can work with this, but let's give it a try. I mean, I don't think there's any room here to install such lights, but let's try it anyway. Darken it down here again. Let me just see if it even works with this kind of dial. So we're beaming. Now these LED's great for doing this. Okay, we're beaming it right in there. It's useless. It doesn't do anything, does it? I don't see anything happening. If anything, it's lighting up the pointer a little bit. And what's that pointer look like with this light shining on it? So I'm looking in the camera. Let's say it's in the cabinet, aimed down like this. I think it's lighting the lower part. It's lighting here, but there's a whole lower part. Why is it not getting the lower part? Son of a gun. I think there's a shadow. It's supposed to be coming through here. So if I put the lights too far back here, mount them in the top of the cabinet, pointing down this way, Get light down here. Yikes. Yeah, put the filter back in. It's just like it's not lighting up, like the FM band is not showing up at all. Why is that? So I would hate to do all this and then in the end go, oh, there's no FM band. Yeah, I think there's a problem with doing this. Problems with everything. Hey, what about coming down the front here? See, I'm just getting no light down here at all. So if the light was down, this is where the lights were. Not sure what you're seeing in the camera right now. So the diffuser was actually hanging where? Surely to goodness it's not here, is it? I put this right behind the glass now, tight up to the glass. Oh, that's not bad. That is not bad. The FM is lighting up. You can vary it by aiming the light. Go all the way back. This looks good. I like this. You only need like 3 LEDs to do it. 2. 3 would do it from back here. And it can avoid some shadows because there's this guy here. Okay, so that I think is the prevailing idea. Mount the lights in the cabinet up at the top, aimed downwards. Put the plastic sheet here right behind, like that. I think that's the secret. Oop, oop. Let's see what that looks like with some light on in the shop here. It's in the total dark. That's kind of a false idea. Might need 4 lights. So now the pointer is casting a shadow. Whoops. That's kind of crummy. I don't know if you can even see what I'm looking at, but so you see the pointer coming across in a shadow. That's not really what we want. So I think that's because the diffuser's in front of the pointers now, right behind the glass. So I move it back again, behind the pointers. Just sit there, would you? Okay. Now we just get the central bar. They don't get all this. Yeah, look at that. There's no real shadow being cast now. So diffuser back. Now, if the light's in the top of the cabinet, shining downwards, does it still work? And this big capacitor right here that can cast a shadow. But if I have more than one light, the other lights will beat back the shadows. It looks like I really need to put them up at the top of the cabinet, which would be about here, aimed across. Now there's going to be all kinds of leak problems, light leak problems. There's a set of push buttons sitting here, and there's going to be light coming through them. I have to put this right in the cabinet to do this. But I don't want to be putting this in and out of the cabinet over and over. Too soon for the cabinet. Okay, go think some more about the whole situation here. Okay, here's what I got to after spending way too much time looking for a plastic tube in my house that I'm sure I have somewhere but can't find it. I have this metal tube. So my thinking is take a hacksaw or saw, cut this thing right down. So two pieces, two half moon pieces. Throw one piece away. The other piece, drill holes, install the lights, cover this opening now with this, and have this in the radio tube. Take this, after doing it, and mount it up in the top of the cabinet, aimed appropriately. So that's a lot of work to get to the point of finding out if it's going to work or not, so I'm a little hesitant to go ahead with this. I'd rather this was a plastic tube. It would be easier than it's going to be. That's where I'm at. I'm off to go and ponder this. Okay, let me snap my fingers. 24 hours just went by. Yes, I've spent 24 hours looking for materials to try to make this light bar. Holy smoke. So I'm going to go over what I got and what I'm thinking about it. I'm still in the process of trying to resolve what I'm going to do exactly. So let's take a look. So the thought that went through my head here just before I went off in search of stuff was stuff the little LED lights into a straw. And that got me thinking about tubes. And I gathered up a couple of tubes. I had this nice shiny aluminum tube here. And this big black one. And what I was thinking was I would take and saw this. So then I'd have two half tubes. Put one aside, take one half tube, drill holes to mount the lights. And then I have a kind of a fixture with the lights pointing this way. And then I'll just seal the top, you know, with something like that. And presto, I'll have a LED light bar. I can cut the length, it's lots of flexibility. This morning I got up, kind of got ready to actually do this, and the more I thought about trying to split this tube, the more I thought, no, I'm never going to get a hacksaw down it. If I use a Dremel, you know, yuck. So I don't even know how do you hold the tube while you saw it. I mean, the whole thing is it. So that idea kind of went down. The plastic one, now this is a better idea in the sense that this is easier to cut and to shape and all that kind of stuff, but this is a little big. It's actually a vacuum cleaner tube, you know, for your vacuum cleaner. So some vacuum cleaner in my house would be missing a tube if I cut this in half. Not that that matters. It's black. But I could do the same thing. Cut it, cover it, mount it, presto. Then I thought, well, why am I thinking about tubes? Why can't I just find something flat? So, you know, this is just a paint stick. And I thought, well, why don't I just do this? I'll just drill holes, mount the lights. I take this material and kind of bend it over like this. I'll make this into the tube. Okay, so that's an idea I had in my head. But as I wandered around my house yesterday looking in boxes and trying to envision some kind of solution, I did find this. This is actually a real light cover from somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know what. Something's missing its light cover. I have it here. So this is possible. Could do something with this, maybe. It's very stiff, but it's more. You can't see through it at all. So this is a stronger diffuser. Might be useful. And along the way, I saw this piece of material in the back somewhere. I just glanced at it and thought, well, okay. But then I didn't get it. This morning I spent half an hour trying to find out where I saw this, and finally I did find it. This might be the way I'm going to go. So again, I can cut it to whatever length I like. It's very easy to put a diffuser on the top with a bit of glue. It drill holes. Mount the lights. The lights would not be shining directly through this because of the angles here. The lights would actually be shining kind of on a bit of an angle. That might give me some advantage. So this is where I'm at. Like this, or perhaps like this. Cut to the right length. I have to figure out, okay, so where do you mount this? My earlier fiddling around suggested I might even mount it in the cabinet, kind of like this. This is the idea that's in my head now. I think this one is actually practical. I can actually do this, but I'm going to let it sit for a while and cook. While I was rummaging all these boxes, I found all kinds of things that my wife and I kind of forgot we had, so it's kind of a good deal, in fact. But I also found this. This is the manual for the meter that I use all the time. I didn't even know I had it. Unity UT55. And I thought, well, okay, I've got it. I should just look through it before I throw it away again or lose it again. When I got down here, these are the safety rules. And there's nothing in here that's surprising until I got down to here. Do not turn the rotary function switch during voltage and current measurement, otherwise the meter could be destroyed. What? What are you saying? So I do this all the time. I put this on a certain voltage, and with the leads connected, I flip scales. There's another warning in here to make sure you're using the right scale all the time here, and you don't try to measure, say, 200 volts on the 20 volt scale. What? I thought these things were safe for, I thought they were safe for people like me who half the time I'm not sure what I'm doing. Well, apparently not. Now, I think the real urgency here is in a current measurement. I would think in a current measurement, the meter is really exposed to the current that you're measuring, and if you hit the wrong scale, maybe something in there will burn out. In fact, on that note, it comes with fuses. It says unfused, 20 amp, fused. So I don't know. Yeah. And the last thing is, you come down through all this stuff. When you get to the very last one, almost the last one, well, the print is different. It's a different style of print right there. The meter is suitable for indoor use only. So somehow at the last minute they decided to jam that in and use a different printer. Well, I get a kick out of this stuff. Good meter though. Okay, enough of that funny stuff. I'll try to avoid changing the scale on that when I'm using it. And I'm going to go away and think some more about this whole situation before I commit myself to working on that piece. Okay, I think I've thought this through enough anyway to get going. So ultimately I'll be cutting this to some length. I use this, but the length right now I don't know. I don't know how long to make it. I don't know how well it's going to fit in here, shadows, all that kind of stuff. So what I think I can do is I can drill, maybe install 3 LED lights with the whole piece here, 3 lights, get this thing operating so I can put it in. Oh, that's kind of interesting. If I put the lights in the middle, I'm not putting this in here. I can put the lights down towards one end. What I'm thinking is that the lights I put in initially will become the permanent lights, and will there be 3 or will there be 5, and that's really the issue. So I could cut this now, then I can fit this in here in various ways to experiment, even down this low, and see what I'm getting out front here, and start realizing the dimensions, the proper dimensions. So this guy, I should nip off this piece here, and then go ahead, maybe use this hole and drill a couple more, fit some LEDs in the holes. There it is here. And then I can even temporarily, put this material over top, and then we can get an idea how well it's working before I finalize it. That's the plan of action. Let me go do that. Okay, so that was easy to nip off the edge. I just used a pair of shears. Now I can get some rough idea where the lights maybe should go. I see they have to shine all the way over to here. So we kind of draw a line like that. Assuming we put this in, let's say with this screwed hole lined up right with this can. Gee, I wonder if I can put it in like this. Yeah, you know, I kind of like that. Put the LEDs either vertically this way or just right through the back. I can double this up if I want more filtering, or I can even switch to this material. And I think I got really good filtering. Of course, the more dispersion, the more light going everywhere in here. I do kind of want it focused here. All I'm doing is assessing where to put the 3 temporary lights in. The 3 holes. That's really what I want to do. Okay, starting with this lining up. Then if that were the final place, the middle would be right here. And then if I wanted to do either side, well, that's interesting. If I put these through the back of this hole, then they're going to protrude out the back and interfere with where I want to mount it. If I put them in the top here, it's crazy that they're shining downwards, which is wrong. If I mount it, oh, I have to go this way. To cut this edge off. So if we go this way, and I could position the lights so they're in the clear gap here, or I could mount them at the bottom. You know what? If I mount them in the bottom, they're shining up onto an angle onto this, and from there only dispersed light would make it to the front. Yeah, I'm really gonna have to experiment a lot with this guy. If I drill holes and mount lights and then decide I like the bracket but I don't like the holes and that, I can just drill more and there's no big deal. It's not really a big deal. Okay, so we put this in. In this case, I'll bang this edge right up over here. And then we would want to put 1, 2, 3 lights in to start with. What if I want to put more after that? It's a little tight in here. This guy will cast a shadow. The shadow would be interfered with because there's more lights down the way, all able to light. But if I put a light right back here, I think we would end up with kind of a shadowing effect here. So that means the last light would be somewhere like this. And then just to balance it out, we're in about this far, the other light would have to be right in here. Well, I can move these wires around probably and get them out of the way. And then, of course, the third light I put right in the middle. That should be in the middle of here, middle of here, middle of here, middle of everywhere. Then if I decide 3 lights not enough, I could put 2 more in here easily. I kind of like that. Now, I really need to cut this crappy end off and do the whole thing again. Cut the crappy end off. Cut the crap. I don't want to... yeah. It's a little harder cutting this. I don't want to flatten it out. Oh boy, I don't know if I can cut it like this. Yeah, let's try the longer one. It's hard to cut through this folded over part here. Danger. Yeah. Watch your fingers. So hard to cut through there. Let's nip through it. That's a better idea. Where's my power cutters here? I've got better, even more powerful cutters for doing this kind of thing. Look at that beast. It almost looks hungry, doesn't it? Got through the main part here. Okay. Should be able to cut through the thin metal fairly easily. Fairly. Oh, wow. Whew. Working up a sweat here, for sure. There we go. And we there. Ow in many places. Okay. Blue dots don't mean anything. Goodbye to them. Try it all again. This can come over. Okay, what were we doing? We were using another hole, but we won't. If you don't know what I'm saying, I don't either. Okay. So let's do this. Okay, and then we're going to do a light right here. What was that? I don't know what that was. A light here, right in the middle, and then a light over here. And then one dead center. Dead center of this. That's my 3 light holes. Now I just got to find a drill that'll fit the LED lights, stick them in there, mock it all up with clip leads and other stuff, fire it up. Oh my gosh, you weren't even looking at what I was doing. Yikes, bad camera work. So I just made a registration mark here. Now I'm going to drill those holes. We're going to get this thing lit up soon. Okay, another decision point. I have these larger diodes. I have these smaller ones, which obviously don't produce as much light. I have a lot of the smaller ones. I'm running out of, because I keep using these. I'm running out of these. Should I install more smaller ones rather than use a few of these? These are so cheap. Why would I even think about it? So I did use these small ones on a project here. I'll show you the result. So these meters, I installed LEDs to light them up. Can you see? Can't really see anything, can you? There it is. Not really enough light to... So that's my experience with the small ones. I got fooled. So I think what I'll do is I'll go with the big ones. These things are a dime a dozen anyway. Maybe I'll get away with 3 this way. And 5 millimeters. So is that this width here? 5 millimeters? Now where's my... there it is. So it's yeah, 5 millimeters. drill a 5mm hole. Let's just see if my drill set here even specifies stuff like that. So would this be 5? Doggone it. 5/32. It's not in millimeters. Let's get the light. This has to be really close. A touch too small, it's not going in. A touch too big, it's going to be floppy. Well, a touch too big, I can glue that. So this is a touch too small. Next size up is here, I think. This looks exactly the same. Did they fool me with this set of drills? So this is 3/16 and this one is 11/64. 11/64. Why not millimeters? Crying out loud. These look... Never mind. Too small. This looks smaller. It is smaller. This looks way too big. Well, not way too big. This is just about right. Gotta get this. This looks a little bit bigger. Looks a little bit smaller. This is the winner. The winner. Because a little bit big, I can compensate. A little bit small, not going to work. Okay, that was exciting, wasn't it? Picking a drill. I'm going to drill this out in my garage. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let me just get rid of the burrs. Did we manage to do this in any way? Oh, it's going to go right through almost. Not quite. So the hole's a little big. But a dab of glue there, that'll be just fine. That will be fine. So now what I need to do is put 3 of these guys in here on kind of a temporary basis. Oh boy, they're going to fall out. Put them in on a temporary basis. Wire them up somehow and then get it in there and get some kind of look at what this is going to be like before I go too far. Oh, it's a small one. Right. I think once I put the wires on, maybe I can get it to kind of stay in while I'm working on this. Okay, now the wires between them, you know, I could just tack on some temporary stuff here. Sticking with the world of temporary. Good. I'll wire them up. Once one wire's in like that, that should make everything a lot easier. Put the second wire in. Okay. Okay, solder in the other side. So I'm going to run this from a variable power supply to start with, so I just have to dial up the right voltage. What's going on here? But later I'm going to have to figure out a little circuit that can take the 6 or 7 volts AC that's available for the lights and convert it into something that's suitable for the LEDs, which is pretty easy to do. There we go. Okay. Here's our supply. Oh, which one's negative, which one's positive? Long wire, short wire, but which is which? I have to consult here briefly with the oh so knowledgeable Mr. Internet. LED polarity. The positive is the long one. The positive is the long one. Go like that. Go like this. And then we're going to have to do something to hold these in place. A little masking tape around there would do the trick. Okay, no light filter for the experiment. There we are. Whoops, it's coming out. A little more tape. All temporary, just to see what happens. Okay, what does happen? So I'm going to turn on the power supply. We'll see what gives. I'm going to change the lighting in the shop here. Way less lighting. Okay. Switch on. Watching the lights. Watch the lights. Watching the lights. Here we come. Okay, so that is all of about 3 volts or so. So it's not a lot of light there yet. What does it look like with the filter on it? Well, it's not quite the look I'm looking for. But ultimately, what does it do in the front of the radio? That's really the question. Well, that just did not come out at all the way it looks terrible in the camera. It doesn't look quite so bad with my eyes. Yeah, but what if I use this heavier one? I could do some interesting things with this shape here. Okay, now if we put it in the radio, as terrible as this is, all these wires sticking out here, you know what? More masking tape is in order, just to stop any accidental contacts here. But you just went right over the light. Duh. Yeah, over the back of the light. That's what I'm trying to do. Come on. This one here. Just stay on there. This is all just temporary stuff. No. Lights stay on. Please come on. Don't be off. But what gives? What happened? Okay, ready now. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Ready or not, here we come. Oh, I got a bad clip lead here. What a crazy test thing I got now. In you go. Facing up. That's the plan. Just go down there. Go down, down, down. Okay, so what if it's at like this? This is not well, you know, you got to go through this process because there's just all kinds of little fiddly things that can be discovered before you get out the glue and all the permanent stuff. Now let's kind of get the camera a little, it's still up pretty high, so you're not supposed to see any of that. You're just supposed to see through here. Okay, so let me bring down the camera so you can see better. Now let me bring up the camera. How's it look? Does it look bad? It looks bad. If I get this on a little bit of a better angle here. Oh my gosh, I'm working in the dark. Let's try this over here. There, that's a little better. So then that's close to what they would be in the end. That's very close. Now, what's it look like on the camera? So, okay, well, there used to be 2 bright flashes. Now there's 3. So I think I'm ahead in the game in that respect. Let me get some light on the story here. We'll try the different filters and filter positions. See what we get. Okay, right up against the lights first. So that's pretty good. You know, if I put 2 more lights in between, that might be pretty good. Now what if I use the stronger filter? Heavier plastic. We stick that in here. What do we get? Probably something similar. Because essentially, you're looking, go down a bit here. Because essentially you're looking through a clear piece of glass here, where the paint doesn't exist on the dial. It's just a clear piece of glass. So whatever's behind it, you would see. So that makes it very important to get this thing to filter out. Let me put in the second sheet a little bit ahead of it. Look at that. Now that's getting pretty good, even with 3 lights. What if I put this right up behind the glass, which is somewhat impractical. Put it this way. You still see the individual lights, but again, it's not bad. I mean, that would be tolerable. That would look all right. There were just 2 lights in here initially. Putting the second filter right up against the other one doesn't do much. Putting it in between here. I think there's a bit of a problem here. If I put 2 more lights in, I really have to put 4 more in. 2 out on the wings, and then 2 in between. Because if I just put the 2 in between, the wings, the center part is going to be really bright, and the wings are going to lose it. So I put 2 more lights. I have to put 4 more in to do that. Or we go for 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm looking with my own eyes. Just looking at this. It's really quite good the way it is. It's really pretty good. Okay, where's the lights here? Very dark in here for me when the lights are off, but I think that commonly happens when you turn lights off. I gotta tell you something, okay? When I was a supervisor in the power company, I'm a bit of a joker. I had this book full of what was called the Book of Irreproducible Results. I'm sure I still have the book. And it's basically scientific papers that are jokes. You read them very, very lightly. They sound like they're real science papers, but when you think about what the topics are. So one of the topics was the dark light has been invented. And this is a light bulb you would screw in, and when you turn it on, the room will go dark. I guess that's the stupidest thing you've ever heard, right? So I photocopied, because I live in a power company, I photocopied it just for fun and circulated it around my section. Not one person came to me and said, "This is crazy, what is this?" And when I asked people about it, maybe they didn't bother reading it, nobody had picked up on how stupid it was. So I didn't know what to think. After that. A light bulb you screw in, and when you turn the power on, the room goes dark. My God. Okay. I have little tolerance for stupidity. Except my own, I'm very, very tolerant of my own stupidity. Yes. And I have a lot of it, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a while, think about the situation, decide if I want to permanentize this temporary arrangement, add more lights. What is it I really want to do here? And by the way, how much current are those lights drawing? Because I can only draw so much current. So we're just going to take a look way over here. I have a little switch I can throw. Okay, so the actual amount being drawn is way down around, it's almost off. It's almost not on the scale there. So we were looking at 10 milliamps or something of that sort. That's no problem. Those little light bulbs draw a fair bit of current. So the original light bulbs. So no problem. This is actually going to lighten the load on the transformer that's inside this radio. Great. Hey, look at that clock. It's lunchtime. Okay, giving it lots of thought here. I think the next step, before I do any more, would be to put the whole thing in the cabinet and see what it looks like mocked up. So, the only thing I have to do that is chop this off and get it out of the way. And what do I think I hear? I think I hear my cat. Peanut, are you there? Is that you, Peanut? You gonna come in? You wanna go out? Yep, that's it. Yes, definitely he wants to go out. Okay, so Peanut's gonna go outside. It's a hot, humid day out there. Lots of sunshine. And I'm down here fiddling with these lights. And through the magic of video, it is now August 25th. I think at least one day has gone by since I was in here working on this. I've spent my time rummaging through my house. The technique I use is I start cleaning up. I start doing all kinds of cleanup projects like out in my garage. And as I'm cleaning up, I'm hoping I'm going to find some better solution to this. But no better solution has come up. So I'm continuing along. I decided to try 3 LEDs. You can see these white filters I've glued to the top of them. It's just a piece of paper glued to the top of the LED. And that's to try to enhance the distribution and reduce the beam effect. And let's see, so what's left is closing these guys up, cutting this piece of plastic appropriately and somehow fitting it in there. And arranging the power supply for these lights. So to do that, I've got the light wire hanging out here from the radio. I'm going to turn the radio on. This will have some amount of voltage on it. We can measure it, but I think it's going to be 6.3 or somewhere right in that range, 6 or 7 volts. Then I'm going to connect this through an appropriate power supply for these diodes. What would that be? You know, I could just let this connect right up, I'm pretty sure. The reverse voltage strain on these LEDs would be minimal. They're in parallel. I think they can handle a few volts in reverse coming from this. So that would probably just work. Just hook them up. 6.3 volts across one of these lights is too much. You got to be down around 2 volts. Could put the lights in series, but I've already wired them in parallel here. But I think I'd rather filter this into a little bit of DC first. So that'd be a diode and a capacitor. And the capacitor's purpose is to kind of get rid of the pulsing that's bound to happen if you just do a half wave rectification here. Pulsing's only important if you're moving the lights around, or you are moving around, or something is moving to see the pulsing. But generally, you probably wouldn't see it through here. So think about that a little bit. I'm letting some glue dry at this point. So this, and once this is solidified, then I can work a little more aggressively on it. That's where it all stands after 2 days or 1 day or whatever it was. Wow, slow motion on this project. Okie dokie. So this is what we've got now. And I'm looking at how to fit this on. This turns out to be extremely fragile. Like, I was cutting it and it just cracked right through. Just kind of, this is very, very brittle. Brittle is the word. I think I can kind of glue this like that and like that. And all I got to do is just get rid of this excess. A very brittle piece of plastic. Fortunately, there's a grill in here, so I'm hoping it's going to break along the grill line. Well, let's watch this. Now let's watch the disaster as it happens. Okay, so which one? I don't care if it hangs over a little bit. So you give it lots. Woo! That's not quite what I was expecting. I think I'm going to need the vacuum after this. Okay. Makes me think I could probably cut it a lot closer here if I want. I could probably score the back. I don't know. For now, that's good. I can even fit this right up on top here if I wanted. So it would fit something like that. Now the lights are aimed this away. This surface. That's good. Okay, next thing to work on here. I have to think about how to mount this a little bit in the radio. Let's take a look at that situation. Just let me extend my tripod here. The tripod in my shop that this camera is on represents you. That's you. You are the tripod standing beside me. Okay, now we want this to be basically shining forward. That's like this. Oh, that's interesting here. There's a couple ways to do this. That's probably the better way. Experiment will show. Now, what are the possibilities of mounting it here? So I have these wires sticking out the back. Wow, that's how did I get to that point without realizing what was going to happen? How did that happen? That's why I'm mocking this thing up all the time. Is it because I had it like this? Well, this is definitely a problem, mounting it. But then again, the final mounting is all, I think I had it up like this and thinking about mounting it in the cabinet. So I need to finish the light, get it powered from the radio so it's its proper brightness. To control the brightness, I have a substitution box, resistance substitution box. I plan to snap around and get the right resistance, get the right brightness, measure the voltage, measure the reverse voltage, the back voltage, measure the back voltage, and everything experimentally, one small step at a time. Good. Now the diode I've picked here is a 1N 4000. 4001. It's a 1 amp diode, so I can use it to, let's see, it's going to let the forward current through. It's going to drop about a volt. So the 5 volts, I'm sorry, 6 volts, drop a volt, 5 volts left. That's attacking these lights. These lights are not looking for 5 volts. That's too much. So I need a resistor in there for sure. The question is on the reverse. Now, when the reverse voltage occurs, it's reversed on all of these diodes. So the voltage drop, the 5 volts, where's it going to appear? 5 volts is easily the maximum you want to put on LEDs in reverse. So another option is we put this in parallel across the LEDs. Use a resistor. Forward current. So this is reverse, so no current goes through. Forward current through the lights. Reverse current through the diode. Resistor in circuit both times. So basically it's light the lights on one pulse. Forward current turns the lights on. Reverse, most voltage falling across this guy. How can most voltage fall across him? If he's in parallel with all the rest, whatever he gets, they all get. Because this will draw down the voltage to its forward voltage drop of around a volt or less, maybe 0.7. That's the way to do it, I think. I think we'll try that. The voltage we're using is so low here, it's not like I'm doing this into the 120 volt outlet or something. Okay, so we'll set up for an experiment here. We can do it now and see what we get. In case you're wondering where I got the 3 little covers for the lights there, I took a piece of paper and punched 3 holes in it. Okay. Now clip leads, clip leads have problems, so keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to go through the resistor. Oh, I don't need this. Resistor, so it's got to have times 1 times 1,000. Times 1 is 100. We need to be at least up at 1,000. So I can go up in this area. These are fairly high wattage resistors in here, like 3 watt or 5 watt resistors, so no concerns there. Let's start right at the top. Why not? 10K, 10,000 ohms to start with. I'm sure that's more than needed. Okay, coming out into the diode. Which way on this diode? Because we're going to be in parallel on the diode here. Okay, let's make it look parallel. Put it like this. Got this board when I was in college. Somehow I still have it. Okay. So we want to parallel this to here. We'll do it with clip leads. Now, on here, which one was the longer wire? Yikes. Oh boy, spotting the polarity here isn't easy. Because I bent the wires around. Son of a gun. And I can't see the flat spot on the diode. It's all under the glue. Oh, I should have made a mental note. Yellow or blue. First one I put on I think the yellow is the positive. Can find out easily. We'll do a test. 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 This will be a DC power being applied. I think it's red to yellow, black and blue. Okay. Do these come on? I just have to flip on the power. No, we can't see what's going on down. So look down here. Do they come on? Yes, they do. Okay. So I know positive from negative. It makes my day. I know positive from negative. Positive is the yellow. Now what's going on with this diode? Okay, so it has a little bar on this side, and every time I look into this, I get it wrong. Every time. Every time. So we're going to experiment. Figure out which way that diode works. Let's try this. I'm not sure this will do it. Oh yeah, I should. I have a diode setting here. It's supposed to beep. There we go. Even this meter is acting like it's old. That's what happens in a vintage shop. All the equipment gets the idea. Positive. I don't know. Let's just try this. So we see the junction voltage, about 0.6. And there we are. And that's a very high resistance there. So, conducts current this way. So we take the positive of the power supply, take the positive of the light strip, and then we just take the negative. Didn't I bring enough clip leads here? Turn back to the power supply, which is at 0 volts. Oh, did I get the resistor in here properly? No, something happened here. So, yeah, what am I doing going to the power supply? Don't go to the power supply. We're going to, yeah, moving up here. And the return is here, right here. This is it. Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. That's enough to go forward. You don't have to actually know what you're doing. You just have to think you know what you're doing. Onward we go. So the concept here is big resistor, light's probably not working at first. Turn down the resistor, see the lights, judge their brightness. Adjust this to give the kind of brightness we want. We should measure the current here too. Let's see if we can use this guy here. So I got a clamp-on meter, which we can use. And I also read, I can read the current right on my power supply up here too. Back in there. I don't know if you spotted it or not, but it's there. We are ready to start. So, radio turned down. We don't really care much about the radio sound. I've only got one wire hooked up here. What am I doing? What has happened? Well, the other side here isn't hooked back. One more clip lead. Now what can go wrong here? The worst case, I pop some LEDs. That's really unlikely. Extremely unlikely. Burn the resistor. Very unlikely. Nothing bad's going to happen here. We should have a meter handy for reading some voltages. So put this one here. And my pointer. Let's put it here. No, let's put it where I can clip on to something here. A short little clip. So we'll clip onto the. So we're pretending this is positive. So this will be the voltage across the diodes. Would be what I'm trying to read. 20 volts now. Come on down. Come on down from way up there. Okay. I think everything's in place. Big experiment. Can we make LEDs light? Okay. Now we're going to apply power. Right now the set is off. Get this out of the way. Let's put it on. Okay, I'm going to apply power, and we shouldn't see these lights. If we do, something didn't work out here. The radio didn't, did the plug fall out the back? Yes, the power plug fell out the back. Okay, cut the power on the supply. I've learned not to panic when you turn something on and nothing happens. Okay, this time we're going to see something happen. Here we go. What would be a problem? 25 volts on here would be a problem. So that should show up instantly. The radio's definitely on. It's warming up. You get absolutely nothing there. How can that be? Bad clip lead, all kinds of problems could cause that. Maybe the main problem is no voltage there. I'm not actually measuring anything. That's probably the real problem. I want to go here. 2.7 volts. So that's got to be the reverse voltage. Why do you say that? Because the lights aren't on at all. We need to do this with the scope to really find out what the heck's going on. Now let's see if we can get these lights to come on. Maybe in fact we should really no, I know this is going to be 7 volts here. I know it. Let's go down. Here we go. Down to we're in that range of 1,000 here. I don't see any lights at all. Something's not right. Something not right. Okay, I probably just confused it. Let's just trace it out here. Through the box to this end of the diode. From the other end of the diode back to here. That's correct. So we have this diode basically in series with the load with this resistor. And then we have 2 clip leads here. So what it could be is I just got the whole thing backwards here. I just need to rotate these 2 clip leads. Could that be the case? So let's monitor the voltage here. That's the same. Let's monitor right on the string here. Right on the string. Right on the string. Let's see what's happening here. Oh man, the simplest stuff. I can make it really complicated. This is tied to the yellow, so if we connect this to the red, we're going to get a reading across there. Now it's showing minus. I'm kind of taking a DC reading in a funny spot here. I'm going to guess I got the wires backwards. Why, guess. We thought the yellow was the positive. The yellow is the I should have a positive number here, not a negative number. Okay, so I have the wires backwards here. So let's put this back up. Switch these wires. As I think I did mention that no matter how hard I try, I get these things backwards. I see the lights come on. That's a little better. Now we're still reading the voltage across it. Maybe not now. Now we're reading nothing. I need to put this on the red. That's the supply voltage now that the lights are getting, just under a volt. Okay, these white ones are going to be good for almost double that. Just sit there where I can see you. Stop that. There. There. Okay. Douse the lights. Bring down the house lights. That's interesting. That flickering was a camera thing. Now, you can't tell how bright these are, but I can by looking at them. They're not very bright. We're up to, it's just going to hold at 9. That's interesting. This is not changing one bit. So you're kind of measuring, I guess, the forward voltage drop. I thought it would go up a little wee bit. We need to make a current measurement now. Okay, so we set this guy to current. Hold them roughly where we want to do the test. I'm going to do it on this red wire because the Earth's magnetic field is here and we need to null it out. Okay, well, it's reading 0 because it's on AC. We are DC. You see it's reading a 1/10 of an amp and there's nothing in it. I have to 0 it, but I want to hold it right in the right, pretty much the right angle here. Can you see it still? Yeah. 0 it. Clamp it. Ooh. Okay, so on the 1 amp scale, we're looking at 0. We're looking at 1 milliamp. These things can take 10 milliamps. 1 milliamp. Keep it on there. Two milliamps. Ooh, this is not doing the job here. Did I just see that? Not much difference there. There. It's still. Yeah, I don't think we can rely on this. Looking at the brightness now, I don't think those are overly bright. Gotta get a better way to figure out if this is getting the right amount of power. We feed it right through the ammeter in this meter. Grab another meter. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a sec, grab another meter. I'm going to hook up a little more equipment. I got the scope ready. We'll take a look at everything here. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. So this is going to be reading the current, 10 amp scale, milliamp scale. That's suggesting it only goes to 9 milliamps. Okay, so I've inserted this in the circuit, so the power reaching the LED lights is what this is measuring, not the current coming out of the radio. Because a little bit of that current's going through the diode here in some bit of a complex way. Okay, we're ready to, oh, this is on. This is on. How come the lights aren't on? What's happened? I've already blown it. It blew it. In order to not forget the radio's on, just going to turn it up a little bit. You can hear it. Why didn't this go? Why am I not getting anything here? Common lead. milliamps, milliamps, milliamps. Is it DC or AC? I think that's DC. What's the matter with you? Look at this. Oh my gosh. Where did that come from? 13 volts. How do you get that? What happened here? What has happened? How can this be the case? Meanwhile, I do have the scope connected, and that's what it looks like. Some whopping, that's 5 volts of division. That 13 volts is real. What has happened? Okay, let's just, don't panic now. Where do you get 13 volts from? 13 volts from 6? Rectified? The simplest stuff, and I'm just totally losing my mind here. Okay. It's not okay. Let's trace it out here. That's all I can do. So from one side of the power source, we're going into the resistor, coming out of the resistor, heading to the diode clamper or protector. Then the other side of the diode protector goes to the lights. The other side of the lights comes down the black wire here into the here. This is probably hooked up backwards. And then out of here back to the other side. That's correct. It is correct. Man. I gotta go back a step. I gotta put it back to the way it was. Okay. I shouldn't, you know, I was doing this with the power on. Maybe I popped everything. I wasn't looking. I'm not so sure that happened. Okay, we'll take the ammeter out of the circuit. The easiest way to do that is to pull these out and short them. What's the matter with this meter? Everything looks great when I have these shorted. Why? So let's change this to okay, we'll change this to amps. Maybe the problem is the current was too high. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? We're on amps now, no fuse, who cares? Put it in. The 10 amp one is here. The lights came on. But of course, we're not going to see any current, it's too low. So if this is 1 amp, so yeah, we should see a milliamp here. Even the meter's upset with me. Well, what's the meter claiming? Why would it be doing that? Milliamps? Okay, so the light stayed on this time. So now this is in milliamps and it's suggesting, well, wait a minute, I've got this plugged in wrong. I plug this back into the milliamps. And here comes Peanut yelling hello. Come save me, cat. Save me from this disastrous situation. They opened the, I think the voltage reading had something to do with open circuit voltage. on the lights. Okay, swing the camera around. Some meters complaining. Peanut. And there he is. You want to go out? That's it. That's his answer. I say, do you want to go out? And you see him turn his head. He's telling me which way he wants to go. I'm going to go that way. Oh, what's that? More dinging. Is there another cat? Another cat coming? Our cats wear bells. Okay, let's yeah, okay. Sorry, cat. He's wondering what's taking you, man. Okay, well the meter's gone. It was just messing me up something terrible. So we won't worry about the current flowing in here because frankly we can see the lights. I can see the light and we can also see the voltage across it. That's low. I'm sure we can go higher than that. So the interesting thing now might be to check out what's showing up on the scope. Let me put a closer camera on the scope here, and we'll get a good. Actually, you know what? I think that's good enough. You can see enough from there. Okay, so let's make it a little bigger. We're on 1 volt per division. This is not what I really expected. Let's just check the 0 here. Okay, and I'll set the 0 right in the middle. So I'm going to guess the reason it looks balanced, top and bottom, is because I have the other diode in there reversed. Boy, I'd have to think about this. Is such a simple thing, but I'd have to think pretty hard about it. So what is this really telling us? 1 volt, so if we come down, the peak voltage here is 1.5, and the peak voltage the other way is 2, basically. So peak reverse voltage here can be as high as 3. Let's I can actually increase the voltage right here by just flipping this switch up here. Didn't make much difference now. So the radio is now running with full outlet voltage. So we're seeing it for what it is, 120 volts. You got a tube back there, you can see it. The tube's just going like a light bulb here. Wow. That's a bright one. That's odd. That's the detector tube. Isn't that bright? Okay, now what? Now we want to assess the brightness of these lights. I have to redo this whole thing now. So I have this on, come on, camera, 1,000 ohms, but this may not be exactly 1,000. So I'll read this, get a resistor. Oh no, wait a minute, we're not done yet because we still need to adjust for brightness. Let's just do it like this for a minute. See if we can find a limit. Keep our eye on the scope and the lights and everything that's happening here. Now that's dark. Okay, so again, it's very hard to make lights like this look like they look in the real world on a camera. So these look moderately bright, but not terribly bright, so we're going to give them a little more. Scope, what's the scope doing? Scope voltage isn't changing, so I think that's really because it's the diode forward voltage drop where we're basically seeing there now. Does that make sense? So this is just under a volt, right at the top there. I think it does. Well, why that line is sloping, I'm not, why it slopes here exactly, I don't know. Many of you would be much better at this than me. So maybe it all looks totally routine. A little more light. Now that's a lot more light. At this point we got a lot more light. We will try this crazy clamp-on ammeter again. It's crazy. So we're on AC, DC, clamp-on you may not be able to read it there. Clamp it on. No, just before we clamp it on, we zero it. Zeroed. Clamped. 9, 10, 12, 13. Depends how you angle this. 13, 10. So 20 milliamps, I think, is usually the maximum on these little LEDs. So I think we're in the ballpark here. Look at how I can get. Look at a 1920 from fiddling around with this, just angling this meter. Yeah. Well, maybe that wasn't in the screen. I don't know. We're okay at this setting. We're now at what this box says, 330. Reverse voltages are okay. Lights are not too bright. I'm not too bright either. Good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up inside the radio so we can see what this looks like. Still time before lunch. Okay, I think I'm ready for another attempt here. Just making sure nothing is shorting. Looks okay. Good. So same amount of light here. Turn on. Turn on. There we go. What do we got? In the dark. Oh, look at the flicker. Oh, no, that was the camera adjusting, I believe. Okay. Looks real bright in the camera. Let's see what this looks like through the front. Bear with me a second here while I knock you down to size. What do we see through the front of this radio? There's another filter that needs to go in here. So that gives us an idea of the amount of light. Now, I put this filter, let's put it right in here. So that looks pretty good at that point. What are the problems? So one problem is the light is really weak way out at the edge here and weak at this edge. Why is that? Is it because of shadows? There's a whopper of a shadow. This dark area here is due to the big capacitor being behind, the light being behind one of the big filter capacitor. To shift the whole thing to the right, which I can do. And as for brightness now, so I'm going to have to judge this with my own eyes. I mean, we're looking at it in the dark, the camera's making changes. What does it look like if I turn regular lighting on? Okay, so this would be what it would look like in a room. It's a particularly strong light shining on this thing from above. But it's not much. In fact, really what I'm seeing is this white sheet behind here. If I put this down like this. Yeah. So the lights are nowhere near bright enough. I'd say nowhere near bright enough. Brighter. That's just not going to make a big difference. And if we go a little brighter yet, there. I think the LEDs get a little warm if you're stressing them. Wow, I'm pretty close to having to put this whole thing in the cabinet and check it. Don't think I can go much further with this as it stands. move the whole thing a lot closer to the panel. Instead of setting it so far back. There's lots of things that can be done here. Don't fall apart on me now. Yeah, it's just kind of whipped together here. So what if we're up here? More forward. Son of a gun. Holy smokes, just hold the fort. Everybody hold off. So what I just realized, I'm working away on this radio, fiddling around, and here you can see the on-off switch right here. This is the actual on-off switch, and there's almost certainly 120 volts across there when the switch is open. It's just exposed right on the top. There's no protection. No protection for me. I have to get my protection. Down we go again. Be a little careful about that. Okay, because this is a big, stupid metal thing I'm sticking into the radio. It's going right on top of that switch. That's the thing. Get it in there. In behind all this stuff. Okay, that's good for a test. That's good. Over. That's good for a test. Right there. Right there. So I brought it forward quite a bit. Now, what do we get out of this? First thing I realized is it's really hard to light it way down here. Oh my gosh. So this is actually really low. I've been looking at here mostly, but this is way down there. And the chassis is in the way. Which is why they have the light bulb so far forward in the radio to cast the light down to here. I gotta do the same thing. Oh my. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop and think for a bit. So, for me to fit it in more forward in a similar place to the original lights, I have to get rid of this edge here. And considering how shattery this stuff is, here we go. I just fly right off. Oh boy! Fire one. Ooh, I almost broke the front of it. Ah! Don't do that. Don't break down the front. How do you do this? Okay, you have the Dremel and do it. I don't like doing that. It's just not going to work. Wow. How do you do this? Is this a job for the Finnish fish knife? Watch your finger. Look, it's just going everywhere. I don't think that did a thing at all. That did nothing. How do you get this off? Who's beeping at me? Yeah. I'm gonna break this whole thing. Can I have another piece? I have another piece, not long enough. Yeah. Hey, that just did it. Arr! Okay, gotta rethink my plan here. I'm going down the drain. I'm out of luck. Okay, I've taken a firm step backwards here, so I'm kind of starting over. So I've got the lights just sitting back there. No filter on the lights. This filter. Let's see what we get. What do we get? We get some lights off here. up in there. A lousy light switch on this light. I'm squeezing the switch. Look at that. Wow. Okay, we get fascinated with everything. Everything is fascinating. Okay. Now what we want to do, turn this guy on and start fiddling around with the lights again. Here we go. Lights are on. So, you know, this is really hopeless at getting light down in the lower part here. It's just a hopeless situation. I'm going to slide this right behind. I'm going to try anyway, right behind it. It's just zero light down here. Son of a gun. Okay, now this is wire sticking out the back everywhere. Drop this down here. You know what? It's just a little bit nerve-wracking. Let's just turn them off for a second. I hate turning this thing on and off, on and off. That's a good way to wear it out. So if I put these basically where the what happens if I do that? It actually sits there quite nicely. Okay, we'll try this now. Power on again. Yikes! Look at that. Now, I can certainly see the three lights right through here. If I get down and look up like this, the light is coming right down to the bottom. Let's see the FM tuning here. So you can certainly see the tuning pointer go. I've got lights on in the shop here. Hey, this is not too bad. This is not too bad. This is almost the simplest way of doing it, too. Part of the reason it's working is the LEDs are actually aimed downwards. So the headlight beam thing is not actually shining on the front. This is the guy. This is it. This is it. This has got to be the way to do this. Okay, I'm reassured. I'm feeling good again. Goodness knows you could see the original light bulbs through there too. Why don't you come for a little walk with me around the shop here and we'll just see what it looks like in various ways. There we are. Okay. Now, that is kind of what it looks like with my eyes. That's pretty good. Let me put on more light. Well, at this point, you know, the need for the backlight is kind of going downhill because there's so much front light. You can see the grill just fine, but it still is lit. And now, let me just go. We'll put on. I don't accidentally unplug this camera. Come with me all the way back to here. What if we have a whole bunch of lights? You can see the three individual lights quite clearly now. That's gone. So now this is a brightly lit room at this point. A brightly lit room, and unfortunately the overhead light is reflecting on that. Well, no, you still get a sense of color in there, and like a little bit of light at the upper part. Not down here though. Now, is that because I'm up high? If I come down here, it doesn't seem to make much difference. So this part is lit really nice. This part not so nice. If I can increase a little bit of the light going down in here, then that's fantastic. Okay, we're getting closer every time. A little bit closer every time. Okay, I think I got it. Put this back on my tripod because I knocked it to the floor. In case you ever wonder why my cameras don't focus 100%, it's because they've journeyed to the floor quite a few times, unfortunately. I can't imagine that's going to help them. So I think I'm happy with this. So I'm going to permatize most of this now. I've actually cranked this a little lower. It says 47, but we don't know. I will measure it with an ohm meter. That'll be the resistor I use. And we're in good shape here, I'm sure. Man, this little diode is ice cold. There's no heat in it whatsoever. Perfect. Good. That's it. I'm going to permatize that. Okay, so I'm almost finished. Not that it's a big deal, but the next problem I've got is how do I make this stay here? Glue it in place? Not ridiculous. See, it's just sitting in the holders there, which were meant for the other lights, but I can't leave it loose like this. All I can think of right now is glue. Glue's not a bad choice. Now we'll interrogate the box and find out what the real value of the resistor in here is. Around 100 ohms. What's happening there? It's just the resistors in here. Just don't know why this didn't just come up to a reading. So on this scale, and maybe my battery's getting low in this meter. It does funny things when that happens. There's a funny thing. Got the battery symbol here, but I don't know. Does that mean the battery's low? Or does that mean the battery's good? Well, we can't let this stop us here. Let's try another meter. Okay, so I've never used this as an ohm meter before. 84. So it agrees with the higher setting. So my guess is the lower setting demanding a little more current from a weak battery, giving a false result. I think that's the situation there. 84, it sounds like 100. 80, 100. What's the difference? 20. Okay, I gotta fit in a resistor. Bring this out. So if I go to glue this into the radio, it will be glued in a spot here, a spot here, and a spot here, and a spot here. There'll be 4 spots of glue holding this. Probably satisfactory. It's not like it's being worked on at all. That's probably going to do it. So, so I put the diode there. Now I just need to mount the resistor. It'll be right here, and we're good to go. Okay, here's the resistor being tested. 85 ohms. Perfect. Okay, so I think I'm going to want to wire this into the radio, then glue it in place. After that, that's good, just like that. A little bit of shrink sleeve here. Do I have some yellow? Yellow. A little bit of yellow. Blue it is. hey, why not yellow to yellow? So I cut off the original lights, but what I will do is I will stick them in the back of the radio somehow. In case someday somebody wants to restore this thing to like new. I don't know why they would. Goes there. This one goes here. Ooh, you're looking down a little bit. Here. Let's look up. Okay. There we go. Now this one right up tight to the resistor. Okay, I think that's there. Okay, we'll put on the hot air gun coming down. Just waiting for it to warm up. Don't have to shrink these right down, just enough to grab. Big resistor inside the green one here. That's good. That's good. Great. So now it's a matter of a little glue into place, and I will go and have lunch while that is happening. Just go there. Power's definitely off. So this is what I'm going to glue it to. These are the old holders. And I'm going to put glue. How am I going to do that? Glue with a stick. Stick. Let's think about how this is going to be writing in the bottom and the back part. Glue in the bottom and the back part. A generous amount of glue. Yeah, I don't normally glue things into radios, but I think, you know, in this case, not a lot of options here. stuff. What kind of glue am I using? Hey, for the last while I've been using shoe glue. Shoe goo. This actually says shoe goo. Shoe repair and protective coating. And radio repair general glue. In you go. Okay, let's make sure we got it centered up reasonably well. I'm gonna have to bend these wires so it pushes it down into place. Okay, work the glue a little bit. It's actually quite good. There's a lot of contact back here at the end. There we go. So we're going to let that sit. And I'm going to go eat some lunch. Okay, well, another day has gone by. So now it's August 26th, and I think I'm ready to put this into its cabinet, and we're going to have a look-see and see what we got. Now, you know what? Hold it. Just before I do that, I did notice a problem here. When I'm sliding this filter down, if you look at this design here, these notes going up a scale. So the plastic is coming along and covering this. Now, what is supposed to be going on with these is when you turn this, a colored disc is traveling up here. So really hard to see. Really hard to see. This one too. It may as well not even be there, in fact. You can barely see it. 2 dark, 3 dark, 4 dark. That one doesn't go dark at the top. Yeah, I shouldn't worry about these. This one works all the way to the top. So this plastic sheet can only go so far this way before it bumps into the frame for the magic eye here. Clamp, clip, or whatever. Just barely makes it, in fact. So the excess is all over here. There's really nothing there. It's all about this side. So I could just trim this. Now, the thing is that the dial's on a bit of an angle here. If I trim it straight down, it wouldn't work. Oh my gosh. So this has got a covering on it, a coating protecting the beautiful clear plastic that must be inside here, and I'm using the coating as the. That's okay. Okay, so what can we do here then? We can cut a chunk out of it. Up to about here. Over cut that piece out. Problem solved. Now what happens if I go to cut this? A bad deal can happen here. First, no scissors. I have to figure out how to fix this in place. I think glue will be the glue. It's been working out for me pretty good here so far. Why not use more? So this will come down, sit like so. For what it's worth, this is visible now. Now, how to put this on here? So what I was thinking was just a little dab of glue. 2 dabs up in the corners here, and that's all. Now I can bow out in the middle, so maybe I would do a little bit in the middle here. The thing is, the glue is going to be on the back of this dial. If you pull the glue off, you're going to get something like that. There's a hole in the dial right there, that little spot. The back paint has been knocked off, probably by me at some point. I don't know. So we don't want to put too much glue on, but just probably a couple of dabs going to hold it in place. For now, I don't need to glue it though. Just try to delay all commitments. Always delay all commitments. Yeah, I can just sit like that for now. Okay, let me go and get the cabinet. We're going to find out a few things here. What's it sound like? What's it look like? Okay, let's see if we can fit it in here. I've already mounted the tone buttons. You can see them there. Oh, looks like a radio. That's great. No need to bolt it in or anything like that. One of these rubber feet came out. Rubber mounts, rather. It doesn't really fit on the... He's too big. Okay, that's fine. Now, it's the big moment here. Oh, no, not quite yet. I have to connect the speakers here. When I nipped off the speaker wires, I left a little bit behind with some insulation so I could see the colors. And subsequently I discovered the black wires here are actually going nowhere in the radio. But I'm going to tie them to this terminal. There's really no need, but at least it puts them somewhere. This is a terminal to nowhere. And the orange one back here. I have a gentleman coming here today who lives here in the same city I live in, and he's here visiting or something like that, and he needs to do a little bit of soldering on a motorcycle part. And he called me up yesterday and asked basically if he could use my soldering iron. Yes, I'm going to set him up with my soldering iron out in my garage, and he can have the pleasure of soldering his motorcycle part. Okay, talking about soldering, that's what I need to do here. I keep telling myself, what am I forgetting? One thing is plugging in the tone plug here. There we go. That one. Or that one. Both of them didn't stay. And when you're first squeezing these wires down on old terminals, you're squeezing them down onto solder. And then when you melt the solder, sometimes there's nothing holding the wire in place. Just building up the tension here before hearing what this radio sounds like. Okay, that took just a little longer than expected. Seems like everything is like that in life, isn't it? You know what they say, work everything out and then add 50%. Okay. Here we are, bass button off, jazz button in, or we could push this one, which I think is actually a neutral. Orchestra is actually kind of neutral. Bass, treble. Would look like louder is this way, based on the colors there. And we'll find out in a moment. Switches off, volume's down. We're plugged in. Now, so the room lighting in here is, this would be what you would consider to be kind of a brightly lit room. When I turn it on, we'll see if anything is visible there in terms of additional lighting. There we go. Oh, yes, it is. And I see 3 distinct lights back there, but only if you kind of get down and look. Lighting goes right down to the bottom. Put it on FM. Oh, let's not jump too fast, Joe. There we go. Okay, could be the button. Doesn't seem to be. Could be the antenna. This is a better. Where'd that come from? So that's 590. It's pretty much right on. There's just too much noise here in this location, but the radio is definitely receiving. FM. This is with the built-in antenna.
Professional mortgage agents really are. Our Rock Capital family has continued to provide an uninterrupted, high level of service, finding their clients the perfect mortgage solution. When you are coming to us, you can
Beautiful.
find security
Let's,
knowing you are in the right hands, be it a renewal,
even more.
refinancing your home, or buying a new one.
That's
Find your
lots of
local
bass
agent
there.
today at rcimortgage.com.
Imagine reaching into your pocket right now and finding an extra $20, or checking your wallet and finding a nice 50.
Frankly, the way these color things go doesn't make 100% sense to me.
Thousands of people who are finding extra money every month through DL Deeks
That's okay.
Insurance. Stop paying ridiculous rates for car insurance.
Beautiful sound.
Contact DL Deeks today and tell them you want to save your money. Deeksinsurance.ca. That's
You can use the eye to get exactly the kind of result you want. Volume doesn't disappear totally. Oh, it does. A little bit of dirt in there.
I'm Jim Daly, and on today's Focus on the Family, we're going to hear about one couple's difficult marriage and why, after 3.5 years, Juana Michaels left this note for her husband.
Dear Terry, I have decided to move out, and I'm staying with a girlfriend. I cannot be married any longer with all the uncertainty that I feel. I'm sorry that our marriage did not work out. You don't need to try to contact me. I'll be in touch in a couple weeks to get the rest of my things.
So I'm looking now very carefully at this for shadows and things like that.
Well, Jim, what strikes me about
Slight
that note
shadow
is
right
how
here.
hopeless it sounds. There is apathy. There are no regrets.
Looks
it's
good.
like the door is slamming shut, and there's no hope of opening it up.
Beautiful.
Well, we're aware of that, and many husbands and wives listening to this right now are right where...
Powered by GD Coats, the original used car superstore on Fresh 93.1.
Mornings are made for Matt and Tara on Fresh 93.1.
So the dial is way off here, unfortunately. This is at 91, but it's 93 in fact up here. So the FM dial way off. I've changed my attitude about that.
To have to upgrade some facilities, and many will face higher costs too because of the need to distance, to have smaller class sizes, to have staggered schedules, for example, that might involve longer hours overall. Ottawa isn't dictating how to spend this money. There's a patchwork of approaches across the country, not only province to province, but even between individual school boards. And we expect it to be divided among the provinces on a per capita basis, not based on total population, but rather on the population of children in schools in each individual province.
That's the CBC's Evan Dyer reporting. And Foreign Affairs Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne says he's still working to secure the release of 2 Canadians detained in China.
It was a
So that first story was about our federal government has come up with a couple $2 billion to support schools. Schools are run by our provincial governments, and so when the federal government, when the funding crosses the federal provincial line, things become politically just a little bit challenging in Canada. So it's not the easiest thing for the federal government to fund things that are the provinces are responsible for. That's what that discussion was, $2 billion to help our schools along with the situation. So that's great. You know what? I think I'm done this radio. I think I'm finished. I really don't know what more I can do here. It's fantastic. I'm really happy with the result. You couldn't tune this radio at first, and therefore it was a write-off. Fixed that after a little bit of oiling and elbow grease, and the rest of it was all straightforward, pretty well. Leaving the alignment alone is a choice I'm making. Perhaps there's a little more that could be gotten out of this radio, but you don't really need it. There's enough there. That's wonderful. So thanks a lot for watching this long series. It took me days to go through this. I took my time doing the lights because I know there are just endless challenges with doing it, and slow and easy and careful is where success will come from. And second time I alter the lights in a radio like this. Every time I do it, I'm sure I'll get a little better at it. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching this long series, and hey, I got another radio.